Is Luis Suarez past his best? I believe this is a question which we ask ourselves almost every time Luis Suarez forgets to score away from home, especially in the Champions League where his record is just atrocious. I'm talking about 30 hours without scoring, 1,777 minutes without scoring, 4 years ago being his last goal against Rome. Very, very terrible, very, very bad. So that is why in today's video, I think that we have to take a look at how exactly can we help revitalize his career and get the best out of him, because there's a lot of quality left in that player, only that we have to utilize it in a different manner. But well, the very first thing that I want to bring into your attention, guys, is that yes, in fact, Luis Suarez is declining a bit. I'm going to pull out right now the stats on screen. So as you can see, Luis Suarez have been scoring his very first season at Barcelona in 43 appearances, 25 goals. Okay, his very first season. It didn't take him long though to just keep improving with 53 appearances with 59 goals, then 51, 37. Following 51 and 31, and then 49 with 25 appearances this last campaign, with scoring 3 and 2 this season. So yes, the numbers are decreasing. We can say that Luis Suarez is declining as a footballer. At 32 years old, it's gonna be more difficult to do what his job is. And in all due respect, the very first thing that general public football fans get to is that players start losing their physical abilities, their physical traits, such as pace, such as strength, such as stamina, and all of those were a very big part of Luis Suarez's game. Luis Suarez being brought up in Groningen and then in Ajax in a school of football that is all about, possession style base, he had great qualities when it came to passing and knew exactly how to take up all 3 different positions in the forward line. At Liverpool, he was perhaps a different type of striker, but coming to Barcelona, he regained those type of skills and just became a such complete forward, and in my eyes, the best on the planet at one stage. So he knew how to get his career back on track when he joined a new club. But now when he's at that club still, but no longer in the same kind of efficiency as before or in the same stride, Luis Suarez has to take a look at himself and start thinking about how can he be of much better use to the side and the collective, something which he has said in many different interviews that he still wants to be part of Barcelona. So I'm suggesting, after seeing him live two times, back-to-back games, the game against Manchester United in which Barcelona won 3-0 in the Champions League, and then a game where Barcelona won 2-1 against Real Sociedad at home as well, back-to-back games, literally like 3 days from each other, I saw 2 different Luis Suarez. I saw 2 different forms of the player that can help us identify how exactly can we get the best of him. The first of those I'm gonna call in Spanish, I'm gonna call them el enganchado. El enganchado is a word which means being hooked up. And Luis Suarez, when he wants to be hooked up, he can be the best striker on the planet by a landslide. He can really be. His just position of the game is insane. His reading of it is as well very good, and his ability to track back, cover up space is just insane. But as we talked before, those are different attributes that, like the reading of the game, you're not going to lose over the age, but perhaps your ability to get back in that position where your team needs you, to cover perhaps a player running in through the midfield, or when you need to go and slide yourself to the left hand side or to the right hand side for a pass or a cross, is something that you lose because your pace, your stamina all gets slower and gets shittier with age. So that is exactly what we saw Luis Suarez in his second form. And what I'm gonna be saying is that his second form is called el empachado. Empachado means a word for when you are just sluggish. You may have eaten too much, you may have been just working out too hard, and now you just feel kind of like tired all the time. And this is a pose which Luis Suarez does all the time. He just kneels down and stays there because he's tired. His body is not ready to be running 90 minutes every single week, every single day. He can do it in certain moments where he can need to be hooked up, like a Champions League semi-final, a Champions League quarter-final, a final of La Liga or whatever, but Perhaps in games against Osasuna, we don't need him that much. Perhaps a game against these other players, we don't need him to start. Those are the certain aspects which I want to be fixing in Luis Suarez's career. I want to take him to have a lesser role, because as we just seen in the previous game against Valencia, he can have a real impact. And yes, I'm going to be taking the game against Valencia as a clear standpoint to promote this argument. A Luis Suarez which came in as a substitute and just managed to score 2 goals from the get-go. This is a player that Barcelona can utilize right now. As a starter, perhaps the very first few minutes when the team is not in its groove, Luis Suarez may just be kind of like an extra baggage. It's true that he can score from the get-go, he can always do that. Players with that sort of ability and trait can just surprise us at any minute, but in a consistent basis, having Luis Suarez starting on the bench, coming in when he is fresh, and all of the other defenders aren't, because let's be honest, you know, a peak Van Dijk versus a Luis Suarez, Van Dijk may win over him when it comes to physical attributes, or maybe even other players such as Marquinhos, or maybe even players we have at our own team like Lenglet. They're gonna beat Luis Suarez when it comes to perhaps the acceleration of a run, perhaps when it comes to battling for a ball, but later on, when those players are getting desgastados, those players are getting tired, later on in the 70th minute mark, in the 60th minute mark, Luis Suarez can come in and just really tear them apart. So that's the sort of Luis Suarez that I want to see. I want to see a Luis Suarez which can be el enganchado more often, and we don't have to see el empachado for longer periods of time. A Luis Suarez that can utilize his body for the right moments, but also for us when we need him to strike. And if we take into account the Champions League, where substitutes all over last season tear apart, I'm talking about Fernando Llorente, I'm talking about, well, Lucas Moura, I'm talking about players in the past, perhaps like Thomas Müller at Bayern Munich. I'm talking players which are just great quality, but are on the bench for moments when their team needs it. So a Luis Suarez out of the bench, I don't think it's the worst thing for Barcelona. Well guys, hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Be sure to drop us a like and subscribe if you did. I'll be down there in the comment box down below reading your messages, because Luis Suarez is a player which I enjoy a lot. I have like 3 t-shirts with Luis Suarez on the back. He's just a phenomenal footballer, but there are some times where you just gotta think about letting it go, you know? So I'm very interested to see what is your opinion on him and how crucial can he be for Barcelona if we just decide to change up the way that we use him. So that's gonna be it, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, ciao.